Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I am coming to you with the books that I read in the first half of December. I'm all dressed up today just because I'm filming some music-related content for my Instagram. The first book that I read this month, and the best one also, this is actually going to make my best list, I actually gave it 5 stars, is Ace of Spades. This is about 2 kids who go to this fancy schmancy boarding school, or not boarding school, it's just a high school, but it's a private school. And one of them, he doesn't come from a rich family or anything. He has a single mom, but he wants to go to Juilliard. The other one is like Little Miss Rich Popular Girl, and she wants to go to Yale and then med school, all of that. So they're going to this school to like really have the best chance of doing those things. So and then basically what's happening is someone basically seems to be out to get them. They have the whole school starts getting these texts about both of them, spreading rumors about them, and it's all stuff that's either like true or they're being framed, so there's like evidence of it being true, that type of thing. And they certainly both have secrets that they don't want publicized to the school, because they do want, teachers to recommend them, teacher recommendations for those schools, and they want everything to like go their way so that they can get into those schools. And so they try to figure out who is to blame for this, who's doing this, because it seems like it could be just about anybody. Neither of them truly necessarily have like friends at this school. They just have fake friends because they're like trying to they're just like faking it, basically. They're trying to like they're playing a part, kind of. And so they're not sure like who they can necessarily trust about that. And then it turns out that it's bigger than what they thought, and there is a whole like racist thing going on at their school, which is super weird. And what's so interesting about this book, because I don't necessarily usually read thrillery things. I'm not sure if this book is actually billed as a thriller or not, but it really feels like a thriller. Because it's really creepy and super suspenseful and super, super weird. I don't normally read thriller-esque type of stuff, but this book did such a good job of like being really creepy and really raising the stakes and everything all the time without it being too over the top or anything like that. And when we start finding out what's really going on and everything, like my thought was, okay, it's gonna be like less creepy from here on, but it was not. Like the way, like once they find out what's actually going on and who all is involved, everyone, people around them start acting super weird, because they're not even, and so it's just so like creepy and weird, and I really, really liked it. I also thought it was so interesting how long it actually takes both of the kids to figure out what's like that it's something race related, because even though they're the only 2 Black kids at their school, they don't necessarily like think that that's the reason, that's the thing they both have in common. Like one of them even like tells his friend like, yeah, it's really weird, the whole school is getting these texts from like some unknown person about me and this other girl, like I don't know what's going on because we don't have anything in common. There's like no reason why they would target both of us. And his friend goes like, well, is this other girl also Black? I highly recommend this book. It has a lot of really good points to make about racism and the role that it plays in the United States, and then also just it's just really creepy and a really, really good read. So after that, I read Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a very beloved book right now. People like are raving about this book, and I liked it, and I think it's a very intelligent book, but it really felt like I was reading an essay or something like that. It didn't really feel like I was reading a story until almost the end, and at that point I didn't really feel like I had enough of a connection to the characters because it did take that long for an actual plot to develop. And this is not a short book either, it's pretty long, so I wasn't sure. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't find that it was amazing the way that a lot of people think that it is right now. And Mask of Mirrors, this is basically about a girl who is posing as a noblewoman in order to gain access to some things and whatnot, and not be poor and all of that. And it's definitely really an interesting book, but this is also a like really well-beloved book right now that I didn't really think was as amazing as I thought I was going to think based on how much everyone else loves it, but I did think it was really good. There were definitely some really unique things about the setting, but I don't feel like it was quite developed enough. Like, I really wanted more from it. So then I read Blood Scion by Deborah Falaye. This is about a girl who is a scion, which is basically just someone who has like these specific abilities and whatnot. And these scions in this world are being basically persecuted, and so she actually gets drafted. She has to go into the army, and she has to basically survive all the training and everything without anyone finding out that she herself is a scion. And then she has to go out and be one of the people persecuting the scions, and she like does not want to do that because she is a scion, and even if she wasn't, she would not want to do that. So it's definitely a really interesting read. I did feel like there were some twists to the story that actually had nothing to do with the whole plot as a whole. I feel like maybe a lot more will make more sense in the second book, because this is the first in a series, but I was kind of just like, okay, like I liked it, and I did think that it was pretty suspenseful at parts, but I think that not a lot going on in it necessarily was part of a coherent plot. I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but I did like it. I thought it was pretty good. Wildwood Dancing by Juliette Marillier. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really quick read, and it didn't quite, it definitely did take about a fourth of the book to really get going, but once it did, I really loved it, and it was really hard to put down. It's basically a 12 Dancing Princesses type of retelling about these five sisters who go into this like fairy type world every full moon, I think, and just stuff happens to them there, and stuff is going on with them in the real world that is all like really difficult and crazy. And they have this cousin who is going on a power trip, basically saying like, well, we haven't heard from your father in forever, so I'm gonna take over the business, I'm gonna take over running this household, blah blah blah. And they're like, no dude, like, we're doing that. Just because you're a dude doesn't mean you can just barge in here and do all this stuff that without telling us. And lastly, How I Paid for College and Attack of the Theater People. I almost said Battle of the Theater People, but that would not be the title. So this is a duology about a kid who, well, in the second book he's like 20. He's not really a kid, but in the first book he's like about to graduate high school. He's trying to figure out how the heck to pay for Juilliard, because he's gotten accepted to Juilliard. He really wants to go, but his dad will not pay. Will like suddenly not pay for him to go to acting school, and then, so he basically has to do a bunch of crazy stuff to try to, get the money for that, and, like, nothing works out. A lot of the stuff he's doing is, like, illegal, and it's just really insane. And then the second book is, it takes place a couple years later, and he's gotten like kicked out of Juilliard, and he has to do all this other stuff instead. It's just really insane. So this whole series was really good. I did think that it was really funny. I liked the first book a lot more than the second one, but I did think that the second one still held up pretty well. It still had a lot of the same like humor and stuff like that going on, but it is also really interesting to me. As I was reading this, I did find it really fascinating how if this was published today, it would be YA, but because it was published in 2004, before YA really took off and was really that much of a thing, even though it's following an 18-year-old in the first book, who's still in high school, at like the end of high school and everything, it's not necessarily a book for teens. It's a book for like teens and adults, and the humor is a lot more adult, kind of, and while still being kind of relatable to teens as well, but I would not classify this as YA at all, and so I just find that really fascinating how things have changed so much, that this would be YA if it was published today. It would be very different. There would definitely be different stuff going on. If it were trying to do that, if it were trying to be published today, it would not be like that. And also the main character is bi, and there's definitely a lot of like stuff going on with that, where at the beginning of the first book he totally does not know that he has an attraction to men at all. Those are the books that I read in the first half of December. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have read any of these or have any thoughts on them in the comments, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!